Let's talk about She's Gotta Have It. Netflix dropped this, I think Thanksgiving Day. I haven't seen it. I have no desire to watch it, at least via Netflix. I watched BG's rendition of the first episode or so, and he confirmed some of my speculations. First of all, the reason why I haven't really been interested in watching it was because Spike Lee, like maybe 2 years ago, was on TV apologizing for a specific scene, which we all remember. Is when the educated lame dude who was married, he took the vagina. And I'm like, well, if something is wrong or something is right or whatever, and you don't think it should be in a movie, keep it in there, but explain it, break it down, like address it. Don't just remove it because butt hurt feminists. But he said that he apologized for it and said he wouldn't put it in the show and all that. Something like, so from that point on, I'm like, yeah, I'm not really interested in seeing it. As much as we all say we hate remakes and whatnot, there are still a couple movies that I did want to, I grew up watching that I did want to see come back, and this was one of those things. I was actually a fan of the original movie, even though I probably shouldn't have been watching that shit when I watched it. This came out in '87. I probably watched it in the early '90s for the first time, or mid '90s. But yeah, I wasn't interested in watching it because of that first. So I'm like, all right, he letting the feminists take over, which I understand is a business move because it's for them, it's their show, right? Like it's supposed to be a female empowering character, or whatever that means. Hose is winning, I guess. So it's their show, so I understood that. But I'm like, all right, so you just lost most of the male fan base by doing that, whatever. The other thing that Spike did was his situation he did with Chrisette Michele. And I think Chrisette Michelle's a little off, a little nutty. But I didn't like the way he came at her publicly. This dude's talking about he denying her an opportunity that she never knew about. If she said that he was a mentor and she's worked with him before, and I just didn't like the way a grown ass man who's a legend in film who had an opportunity to put her to the side, like, yo, XYZ. But he said he went on TV telling the world, oh, I'm not putting her in my movie because she performed an inauguration for Trump or whatever. And I'm like, that's a bitch ass move, man. You gotta do business better than that. That's not how we conduct business. So after we did that, I'm like, I probably will never pay to see anything he does in the future. It'd be fire stick for me. But because of those reasons, I haven't really been interested in watching it. But I did listen to BG's rendition of it. He confirmed some of my speculations about it being a pretty much a feminist PSA every other episode and whatnot. But it got me to me thinking about how, like, well, even though I said I did want to see this remade into a movie, but I'm like, but this is before what we have on TV now, right? This is years ago. I thought like this, and I was thinking like, well, not Nola, darling, Nola's a hoe. Trigger warnings there. Nola's a hoe, and and I'm like, but so are most of the female black characters on TV now anyway. So I'm like, when I felt like, yeah, we should remake this. This was before Scandal. This is before Power. This is before Issa Rae. This is before a lot of these. This is before Single Ladies. This is before Girlfriends, or around that time. Sex in the City. This is before all those shows were out. So I'm like, that storyline, that character is like, how relevant is it in 2017? The fanfare must be, it can't really be there because every time we turn on TV, Sis is in some type of triangle character where she's just getting slutted out. So I'm like, maybe that's why it's like it doesn't mix with 2017, right? That's just my look at it, right? I just don't see it being that relevant. Now I know there's a lot of women who are talking about it and discussing it are people who probably grew up watching the original movie. Like they watched it in the theater. They were old enough to watch it in the theater when it came out. So I see that they're trying to grasp it, but I don't think that a lot of them are taken back. Some are like this one chick. This is the Facebook page I got this picture from. She says, after my third attempt of watching it, I finally finished 30 minutes of a full episode of Spike Lee remake of She Gotta Have It. Do I need to say that so far I'm unimpressed, cliches, basic, stereotype, blah. So that was her after watching one episode or something like that. And I'm sure some other women feel the same way, but a lot of women are just watching it just because they grew up watching the original and they're a fan of Spike Lee, so it is what it is. But if you make a show like this, that's just one thing I too, because we don't have black male representation, black male TV shows, whatever. We gotta work on that. That should be the agenda. That should be the goal. That's why I say when dudes were caping for Lawrence, and I'm like, first of all, it wasn't like they really were behind him. It was just like, kind of like we knew women didn't like him, so we had to stand up for him, whatever. And I also said, though, you got to be careful with caping or being attached to that character and that storyline because it's still through the lens of a woman or whoever the writers are from Issa Rae's show. Now, one thing that BG said that is why Issa Rae's show might be better than this is because you have male and female writers at HBO working on that, whereas Spike Lee handed over the torch to a bunch of clearly feminist black women writing for She's Gotta Have It. So that diversity of thought at HBO is probably going to bring a better show than what you're going to get from She's Gotta Have It. But don't be attached to those characters because at any moment, Issa could write in some bull on Lawrence, not her, but her writers, because she doesn't have complete creative control over the show. HBO does. But I'm saying anything can happen with that character because it's not through that lens of a black man. And I'm saying brothers need to get together, do what they got to do to get that Educated Lame show, to get that Blue Collar Brother show, whatever got to be done, a black version of Mad Men. We need that. I mean, Issa paved the way for that to happen. There's like really no excuses. Whether it starts on YouTube or whatever, she showed you how to do it. You just gotta get it done. Despite, and I'm saying we have to acknowledge like, yo, the mainstream media won't pick those things up. We already know they don't want things from a male lens, so you have to do it yourself, right? And YouTube is that lens of what needs to be get done. iPhones, people making movies with iPhones as it is, so it's not really an excuse that no network will pick it up. You just gotta do what you gotta do, put up the content, and black men have to support it, period. That's a different conversation, though. I don't know, that's just my thoughts, though, on the show. Is that how much relevance does it have in 2017 when every character, like, it's not, like, I get it, in 1987, this show was popping because it was supposed to be, you know, woman's empowerment and this chick who's, you know, balancing multiple relationships, but it was more realistic because she was more vulnerable. It was more affecting her. From what I hear from BG's commentaries, that this chick is more in control and the dudes are not being able to handle her being what she's on. I remember when I was thinking about this movie and thinking of like a spinoff or from a guy's version is, you know, all three of the dudes find out and they like, all right, they just tunnel buddies. Like, they don't give a shit. It ain't nobody wants to keep her. She's just there for what she's there for. A receptacle. But I don't know. And I did want to say about how I remember like the whole thing with Scandal, right? And I'm gonna bring up some pictures probably of other shows. My issue, I didn't really get into that whole a lot of black men was going off on Scandal and stuff like that because the argument wasn't clear and concise on what was wrong with the show. My issue with Scandal is that a lot of sisters at that time, because this is before the black TV show renaissance, so to speak, that we're claiming we're in right now, and it looks like that might even be over because the Carmichael show already got canceled after 3 seasons. What was the other show? Survivor's Remorse. They got canceled after 4 seasons. So this black renaissance thing might not be popping off like we thought. It might just have been an illusion, or it might have just been had their time and that's it. But before all these shows, I'm thinking like a lot of my issue with Scandal was the fact that so many women were saying that there were no positive images of black women on TV and there were no good characters who were multifaceted and all other stuff. And at the time, it was just all a bunch of ratchet TV and all the reality shows. And now we know there's way more now than before Scandal started. So it's like that shit just kept going. So you have women saying like they don't want that, and then boom, this show pops off, Shondaland, and they make it the #1 show on TV almost. And so I'm saying like that's kind of contradictory. If you're saying you don't like those images, you don't like the Jezebel image, but then you support this show, it's like was my issue with Scandal. The bedwin stuff, all that stuff to me was dumb. It's just the fact that y'all said that y'all wanted to see some good content, some good characters, some good women, some black girl magic, and y'all got Shonda Rhimes give y'all Olivia Pope, and then she did the same thing with even How to Get Away with Murder. I wanted to support the show. I wanted to watch it. I wanted to support your girl, Viola Davis, but the show is just too damn gay for me. Too much moistness in it. Can't do it. But I don't know what happened with that storyline because I probably made it. I don't even know if I finished the first season. And I know she was, married to a white dude, but she was smashing the black cop or whatever. I don't know what happened with that storyline. I don't know if she's still getting it in or whatnot, but I don't think she's a positive black female character, to say the least. But I'm about to break down some of these characters on TV right now because I remember thinking about this when the Scandal thing came out. I started looking and like, what are the good, positive, non-thot female characters on TV? And I couldn't think of many back then. That was my issue because they really had me thinking. I was going to do a video about this years ago when the whole Scandal thing was at its height and how the show united them all. Like ratchets, church chicks, educated. They all was on Facebook talking about we had to have our Scandal party and whatnot. And I'm like, all right. But one argument, too, that I keep hearing sisters make, and I don't know where the hell they getting the argument from, that the reason why some women gravitate to this stuff, no, the defense is these are our guilty pleasures. We know it's ratchet, but we whatever. But some women make the argument the reason why so many women like these shows is because black women weren't allowed to express themselves sexually like white women were in the 70s and 60s. I'm like, that's total bullshit. Like, go look at your aunts and grandmas, anybody who was a teenager or going into college during the 60s and 70s, they was getting their freaks on, snorting white lines, doing the same shit that Becky's was doing. This idea that black women were never allowed to participate in that behavior is bullshit. Like, I don't know where y'all keep coming up with that from. Y'all was getting it in just as freaky as everybody else. And then the images, the whole 70s black exploitation film were just softcore porn movies. That was all about sex. So I don't know where this idea come from that the reason why y'all gravitate to this shit in 2017 is because y'all never got to express yourselves that way in the past. I don't get it. Especially all these shitty ass books by Zane and all the other stuff. All the trash that she writes. Y'all been reading that since y'all been in high school. So I'm like, when did y'all not get to express these things? I don't get that argument. But I'm gonna break down some of these characters from the TV shows that and get my thoughts on them.
You tell me what you think about this. But he would say, yeah, like back in the day, we had fun with the hoes, right? We had fun with the strippers, but we wouldn't nobody think about trying to bring a stripper home to his wife. I know Willie D and I are friends, and I know that when he picks a woman he loves, he picks like a mature, intelligent woman. But I get a sense that he's had experience with all different kinds of women, many of whom would never qualify as a potential spouse. What do you think about that?
I have a huge problem with that because what is the definition of a hoe? Let's just really think about what the definition of a hoe is. And I have a problem with the fact that men will never be labeled as hoes and women are. And we could be doing less provocative things and being less promiscuous than men and still get labeled as a hoe. I don't think it's fair. So when you're talking about, don't turn a hoe into a housewife, well, why would I turn a husband hoe into a house husband? Why is it that it's like, I need to act a certain way so I can get this man? Then this man is already out there thotting it out because we know that y'all are. So why is it that I have to act a certain way to get you? Why aren't men acting a certain way to get us? I don't get it. So I'm not a huge, it's fucked up, to be honest. It's not fair. And so let's just take dancing, for instance. So in certain countries inside of Africa, there are people walking around butt naked and nudity is off the chain. It's amazing. It is embraced. It's culture. Is nothing taboo about it. Right. So I'm not.
But not everybody in Africa.
So Megan Good had a show that came on. I guess it was supposed to compete with Scandal, but it wasn't scandalous enough because that shit got canceled after the first season. But honestly, this show was more of a Bedouin character than even Olivia Pope is. Basically, she was a cop. The Puerto Rican dude is always playing black in the movies and TV shows. That dude is up in the corner. I don't know if I can see him. But he put her undercover to go back to her childhood friend. Yeah, this dude right here. He always playing black, but he's Puerto Rican. The show, basically, she She went undercover. One of her childhood friends, who were rich white folks, died, and basically she had to go undercover, try to find out who killed her friend. And she don't know who did it. She don't know if it was her brother. The show makes you think it's him, and it's, you know what I mean, it's a bunch of evidence. But anyways, she's dating Alonzo. That's his real name, the black dude. That's the Puerto Rican who's always playing black. She's dating him. She breaks up with him. She goes undercover. She gets too deep, and she ends up, you know, like sleeping with the dude again. And basically, she was that black girl that went over her friend's house, and her rich brother would come from parties high and drug, and he would smash her on some on some bedouin stuff, right? And she was actually, you know, that was her first, and he would buy her things, do stuff like that for her, but never in public, always, you know, on the low. And the friend even said that, the friend who's dead on the show, but it was flashbacks, and she would show you like, yo, he don't even like you, you're just dumb. Like, he just comes to dump in you after having the night with his real girl and his real friends and whatnot. And she ended up, you know, the season ends with her, you know, not quitting her job, but he took her off the case because she was getting too deep and they ain't had enough information. And she ended up staying in the house with the dude, Clay unquote. So, and it's like, it doesn't let you know if she's trying to find out who really killed her friend, or if she's like on some bedouin stuff, but she's staying with the white dude. Nevertheless, that wasn't a powerful character, black female role. It was trash. The show got canceled after like one season. And I remember seeing chicks joking about how it tried to compete with Scandal, and it couldn't. And, you know, her eyebrows is kind of fucked up. That probably hurt it too. No, I'm just playing. But I know Megan Good is about to be the black what's her name? Kathy Heigl. She keep getting canceled. Megan Good got this show canceled, and she got a Minority Report, which I made it through one episode. Well, I made me watch 2 episodes of her because she was wearing black spandex throughout the whole show, and I'm like, that can only get me so far. But that show was ass. Even though I'm a fan of the genre, that show was ass, and it didn't last that long. But Deception came out. It was, you know, a strong black female lead, and it got canceled, and it was just on some bedouin stuff, for real. It is what it is. It didn't last that long. So you did have Regina King. She was a black female lead on Southland. I don't know why I just stopped watching it earlier on. It got real moist at the end of it too. But basically, she's a cop living with her mom, out there wilding, dating, and whatnot. I stopped watching it after maybe the first season, second season. I don't know why I just stopped. And I remember distinctly, her character was like, yo, I'm chilling, I'm not wilding out, I'm getting my life together. Blase blah, because she's, you know, the typical, I'm single, successful, can't find a man. I know the one episode, she was dating this dude, she lied about being a cop. The dude smashed and was like, yo, I can't mess with you, my preacher told me not to. And after that, she sounded like she was getting her life right. Flash forward, I stopped watching the show. I'm thinking, all right, so she's getting her life right, she's trying to be a more positive person and whatnot. I come back to watch the show, she pregnant by her partner who was married, and I don't even remember like which partner it was or what happened. All I know is, and then she's like, the whole last season or second last season was her like deciding if she wants to keep the baby or not. And then it's like, but she's pregnant, which she should tell her superiors so she can get off of leave, but she didn't want to do that because if she decided not to keep the baby, you know what I mean, how would that look? So she's not only putting people she's supposed to protect in danger, but she's putting herself in danger because she's pregnant and she can't do what she's supposed to do at however many weeks pregnant her character was. But anyways, all I have to say is she went from I'm about to get my life right and I'm chilling to, you know, being a side chick and getting pregnant by her married cop partner. I don't know how that worked out. I know the end of the show, the last season, she's sitting on the dock with her white ex-partner, and I guess they go off into bliss. That's how the show ended. But again, you know, I'm thinking like, I thought that, oh, she's a positive, because that's like when I was like, no, what are the positive black female characters on TV? And I'm like, oh, maybe her. I go back to watch the show, and she's in a bunch of drama and nonsense and whatever. So I'm like, all right, cool, not her. And we can sum this part up real quick, right? Trigger warning. Right? So, Issa from Insecure, she's a hoe. Molly from Insecure, she's a hoe. Tasha from Power, she's also a hoe. Now, I don't know why chicks be getting triggered when you be saying that. Even Issa Rae, she did a Q&A with some fans of the show, and a woman said, you know, what's up with Molly, why she's a hoe, and Issa did that whole, would you say that to her if she was a man? Like, she got, you know, fake offended, you know, triggered, and I'm like, it ain't, oh my God, like, they still trying to, and that's the whole concept of she's got to have it. They're trying to normalize this shit like it's just normal for women to hop from mushroom tip to mushroom tip without having an effect on them. Yeah, I could try to promote that image all you want, but she's a hoe. Like, it's not that deep. I mean, is it hard to break that down? And it's funny that all these characters that are very promiscuous and messed up, how many women can say that they relate to these characters? I'm like, yo, what is y'all doing? What part can y'all relate to them to? I had a joke to myself years ago that, you know, because they had the single ladies, which I don't remember what happened with that storyline, but you had single ladies, you had Sex in the City, and at the time you had Girlfriends. And I was like, those shows are all prequels to the Golden Girls. And how all them women end up, they all end up alone, dying alone. But those shows, to me, are prequels to what you end up with is the Golden Girls, which every chick loves that show, whatever. Like, that's their thing. But that's just my thoughts. It's so many thought character females on TV that I don't see how Nola Darling is any different. And then a lot of these other characters in TV shows. Oh, I forgot my favorite. Oh, I forgot. My bad. I got one more. This chick. The chick from Queen Sugar. This sister right there in the middle. Oh my God. Talk about a complex character. So this is a clip from the opening scene, episode 1 of the first episode of Queen Sugar, right? And the opening scene, you got this chocolatey sister, right? And I only remember her from, she was on the TV show Hannibal, and she was getting banged up by the Red Dragon. Her character was blind though. That was the first time I seen her. But you got this extra chocolate sister, opening scene of the show, getting smashed out by a married white cop. Now her character, talk about, you know, women say they like complex characters deep. You can't get no more complex than her character. She's a side chick to a married white cop. She sells weed. She's an activist. She's a pro-black, and she's a part-time lesbian too. Like, she's like steps ahead of Nola. But I'm saying this is probably the most complex character on TV, black female character, and she's just doing it all. And if you watch the show, you already know she met up with some educated lame, and he trying to upgrade her and make her better, but she trying to slum it with the white dude cop. But it is what it is. But nevertheless, she just smashes random dudes and whatnot, mostly white. She just gets it in. But her character probably the biggest hoe of them all. Yeah, so basically it's a lot of thought culture stuff on TV, and that's not even looking at the reality shows and all that stuff, right? Women been saying for years hoes are winning. So honestly, it doesn't seem that she's gotta have it, although the original was a classic and I liked it. It doesn't seem like it has a space in 2017. And then, because there's just too much competition, there's too much stuff on there. You got Mary Jane, Olivia Pope, you got Issa Rae show, even the shows that aren't even black targeted, but like Girls and Sex in the City, although those shows are over, you got those shows too. And you had Girlfriends. You had Lynn's character on Girlfriends, and Tracy Ellis Ross's character was a little thought too. But we have this over promoted on TV, right? And again, I don't understand this argument that sisters are making that, well, we love this because we get to express ourselves in sexually and this and that. And I'm like, when have y'all have not post slavery, right? Because we ain't even gonna talk about that, right? Some dudes be talking about that. That's silly. But post slavery, we do know that like white boys was going up in Harlem to mess with sisters. We do know that. My grandma told me about in the 70s, where I live at in Western New York, how the Arabs and black women were getting down. So this idea that sisters wasn't getting it in and they were on some prudish, stuck up thing, despite being in the church and religious and all that stuff, they still was getting it in. We hit it more. A chick got pregnant, we threw the baby down south and she came back up. We did stuff like that, try to cover it up. But this idea that sisters wasn't getting it in, that's a lie. That shit is not true. My boy told me back when he was growing up, and he's in his 50s now, like how girls his age at 14, 15, they was giving it up. They was doing stuff. They weren't giving head. He said sisters wasn't giving head, but they was doing everything else. And he said the white girls, they wasn't doing anything else, but they was letting you do anything else. That's how he said he grew up. So, and he said the girls were more aggressive than dudes were. He said he even had to break up with chicks because he was trying to focus on school and sports, and chicks just wanted to just go crazy. Like any chick who grew up in the 70s in that Coke white line era was getting it in, white or black. So again, I don't understand this lie that I hear sisters saying on YouTube that, oh, it's beautiful to see that and see women get smutted out. Like that. Even the black exploitation films was just that in the 70s. It was the Jezebel. It was the image that I grew up hearing that y'all don't want to see no more of. A lot of feminist chicks that like J. Cole's music, they don't like his song No Role Models. Why? Because what he's saying in there is like the women on TV when he was growing up, they had an elegance and they had grace. You know, Nia Long didn't play any crazy roles in her earlier career, even though she does some silly shit in real life. Lisa Bonet, even though she's doing some weird, crazy shit now, she's on Ray Donovan, and she's like weird, biracial, crazy crackhead chick that's smashing with her own brother. This weird role, but like growing up, she had that positive image, and it's Felicia Rashad, right? And women who like J. Cole don't like that song because he's putting women who carry themselves with an elegance and grace and didn't do crazy content in a high regard. He got criticized for that in that song, saying like today, all we got is these reality shows and these reality hoes, and these women ain't nothing to look up to, right? But back to She's Gotta Have It. I don't think it fits in 2017. Spike Lee does this thing with his roles, and even though I like Miracle at St. Anne, the stuff that the little magical, funny stuff he was doing there, I can understand why people didn't like that. I wouldn't make that say I don't like the movie because I did like the movie despite that. But he does some weird thing, like man. What was it? Inside Man, perfect movie, amazing movie. He didn't do none of that weird shit he be doing, but I think he did it in Chirac. Obviously, he did it in School Days when it was okay to do that back in the day. Apparently, he's doing this shit with this show, even though he does have female writers on the show. So it's like weird because they're getting mad at some of the women who are critiquing the show are blaming him for things, but he does have female writers who are writing these characters. I did watch the Grapevine's response, and that chick, the crazy. The vagina is gold and God, I think her name is Aisha. She's talking about how Spike Lee did this as a revenge film. The original was like a revenge film for all the stuff that was being written by these black feminists, Alice Walker, The Color Purple, and all that stuff. But he admits to himself that he was young and dumb, and he did it through his own perspective. It wasn't necessarily a female empowerment movie, right, where a woman can own her sexuality, and that's something to be, you know, I guess desired or wanted to see, right? Maybe that was monumental in 1980 when this first original came out, but not anymore. But then I listened to an interview with him on Mace Jackson. Shout out to Mace Jackson, best top 3 radio black politic programs on. He interviewed Spike Lee, and Spike Lee said something different, so I don't know what it was. I know, to me, the original film was more realistic. Some of the stuff I hear that's going on in the new one where, you know, you go over a chick house and she's letting you know that the other 3 do smash and you there. Now don't get it twisted. I can tell you some stories of some people I know that been through some things, but not like that. Like most dudes is gonna get the freak out. Like especially when all those dudes had their own chicks, she was their extracurricular activity, and then they threw in the whole lesbian aspect where in the original movie she was just like, yo, I'm strictly pause. they made her gay, which is that's standard in today's television anyway. So you already know what's gonna happen. Just mix it up. But I just don't think she's got to have it fits. They're gonna probably give it a second season. It is what it is, but it just don't fit. It's too much competition. Like, it's not monumental to see black women on film being promiscuous and hopping from mushroom tip to mushroom tip. That's pretty standard with everything that's on TV. It's to the point where you can't find, and that's what I'm saying. I seen something on Grapevine a while back. They didn't do a video about it, but it was like a video talking about exploitation and all this stuff. And I'm like, y'all can't make that argument no more. This objectification, exploitation of black women. You seen the little clips on Facebook. The hip hop industry has been very exploitive of black women and yada yada yada, and the media portrays them in a negative light. But y'all watch and support all the artists who do that shit, and y'all watch all the TV shows that do it. Not only that, but then after the shows is off, y'all get up around and y'all talk about the shit. So yeah, I don't like the content and the way y'all portray it on TV, but y'all support all the shit that does it. That doesn't make sense to me. Clearly somebody's lying. I don't think they want to see any more Felicia Rashad's. And think about how many articles have been written trashing her image and her character from the Cosby Show. Like, that's gone, it's over with, we're done with that. Like, alright, it is what it is. But that's just my take on she's got to have it. I don't think it fits in 2017. Enough competition out there. We're used to seeing this already. It's not monumental. It's not, even though some chick did, I was talking to her about it on Twitter, and she was trying to make that argument that the show is just not about her having sex with multiple dudes. It's so much deeper than that. I'm like, no, motherfucker. People not watching it for that. They're watching it for the sex. That's what it's there for. If you want to be empowered, is this what you want to look at? And the funny thing is, the original character had that aspect in her own personal life more than this character. This character is she's kind of a lame. She's whack.